Trinity community, thank you for joining us today as we celebrate together the many contributions that faculty and staff have made to Trinity this past year. Normally, this would be a time for many of us to gather together in the Marguerite Parker Chapel and exchange well wishes with one another. And while our circumstances are different this year, the purpose of this virtual gathering is as important as ever. Since last spring break, you have all shown extraordinary dedication and resoluteness in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. You have upheld our university's values in the face of extraordinary challenges that, for many of us, include balancing new at-home work environments, financial hardships, and meeting the needs of family and friends who depend on us. You have worked tirelessly to ensure that our students continue to receive an impactful education that allows them to become compassionate, critical thinkers in a time when the world desperately needs them. Thank you. Believe it or not, it was just 1 year ago that we were in the midst of a year-long celebration of our 150th anniversary. That celebration showcased Trinity's resiliency through a century and a half of seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Little did we know that remembering our past would prepare us for the future of 2020. I remain confident that we will conquer our current challenges by relying on our time-tested values of discovery, impact, excellence, the individual, and community. Community is especially important as we learn to adapt important events like this one into something where we can still recognize the important contributions that you have made. As we recognize your contributions over the years, I thought it might be interesting to peek back into the archives to see what was happening on the Trinity campus when you might have started your journey here. 5 years ago, Kimberly and I were just beginning our first semester on campus. I can remember being full of excitement as I met many of you, and I was relieved that San Antonio's hottest days were finally behind us. Just to the north of our campus, City Vista Apartments were opening, a property that we would acquire 2 years later to accelerate our plan for additional residential living opportunities for our students. Now let's travel back to 2010, one short decade ago. That year, Trinity broke ground on the Center for the Sciences and Innovation, one of the university's most ambitious building projects. CSI remains a campus centerpiece that continues to attract high-caliber students and faculty. 2 decades ago, Trinity saw the dawning of a new millennium. During this era, our university updated its technological capabilities and invested heavily in digital resources. We continue to rise in national relevance as our selectivity, press rankings, and alumni outcomes grew stronger. And the Tiger men's and women's tennis teams made history in 2000, bringing home a pair of NCAA Division III national championships to Trinity University, something that had never been done before. There are some of you who remember living through those times at Trinity. It's fun to look back and see where we were as a university, and it's helpful to remember how the bold steps that we have taken in the past have propelled us into the exceptional school that we are today. Of course, brick and mortar buildings can help a university fulfill its mission, but it is you, the faculty and staff, who make meaningful, lasting impacts on our students and community. It is you who insist that we must continually strive to do better, academically and inclusively. As I speak with you today, I am also reminded that the paths we choose today will determine where we are 5, 10, or 20 years into the future. If 2020 has taught us anything, it's that we must be adaptable, creative, patient, and persistent. Thanks to each and every one of you for exemplifying those Trinity ideals, and thank you for your hard work and dedicated service over the years. I'm excited to see where we can take Trinity.
Dr. Nina Eckstein, Professor, Modern Language and Literature. Donna Kaminsky, Technical Support Coordinator, Library. Dr. Roger Spencer, Taylor Professor, Economics. Dr. Charles White, Professor, Psychology. Dr. Alan Astro, Professor, Modern Languages and Literatures. Julie Jenkins, Head Women's Volleyball Coach, Athletics. Dr. J. Paul Myers, Jr., Caruth Distinguished Professor of Computer Science, Computer Science. Beatrice Caraway, Head of Special Collections and Archives, Library. Dr. Stephen Field, Lee Professorship in Chinese Languages and Literatures, Modern Languages and Literatures. Timothy Francis, Technical Director, Human Communication and Theater. Dr. Julio Hasfiro Buinego, Associate Professor, Mathematics. Dr. John McGrath, Professor, Human Communication and Theater. Dr. Randall Nadeau, Professor, Religion. Kate Ritson, Professor, Art and Art History. Dr. Carolyn True, Professor, Music. Dr. John Herman, Associate Professor, Political Science. Dr. Heather Sullivan, Professor, Modern Languages and Literatures. Dr. Jane Childers, Professor, Psychology. Jane Costanza, Head Resource Management Discovery Services, Associate Professor, Library. Irma DeLeon, Academic Office Manager, Sociology and Anthropology. Dr. Michael Fisher, Janet S. Dickey Professor in Public Humanities, English. Babette Guajardo, Academic Assistant, Modern Languages and Literatures. Jody Kajarla, Costume Designer, Human Communication and Theater. Stacy Linderman, Office Manager, Athletics. Justin Parker, Assistant Sports Information, Athletics. Dr. Sarah Pinnock, Jenny Ferris Rayleigh King Professor, Religion. Alfred Rodriguez, Registrar, Department of Registrar. Dr. Jacob Tingle, Co-Director for the Center of Experiential Learning and Career Success and Professor of Practice, Department of Business Administration, School of Business. Randall Wallace, Studio Manager, Art and Art History. Joanne Ayari, Academic Office Manager, Modern Languages and Literatures. Dr. Rosia Delgado, Associate Professor, Education. Dr. Laura Hunsicker Wang, Professor, Chemistry. Dr. Andrew Kanye, Professor, Philosophy. Dr. Jack Leifer, Associate Professor, Engineering Sciences. Russell McMendis, Head Men's Tennis Coach, Athletics. Roberto Prestiago Como, Associate Professor, Human Communication and Theater. Dr. Benjamin Surplus, Professor, Geosciences. Dr. Bessie Tantiplafo, Associate Professor, English.
Alumni Relations and Development. Adrian Tovar, 20 years. Kathy McNeil, 15 years. Cynthia Uviedo, 15 years.
Justin Doty, 20 years.
Employee Service Awards for the Finance and Administration Division. Grace Martinez. Israel Perez. Kevin Hawkins. Martin Chapa. Denise Covert. Pedro Vasquez. Jennifer Adamo. Eno Covarrubias. Clint Ratliff. John Rouse. Christopher Escobar. Juan Pablo Gonzalez. Carl Jeffrey. Tammy Weeblin.
Information Technology Services. Yolanda Rodriguez, 40 years. Neil Pape, 35 years. Stephen Perez, 25 years. Eric Gonzalez, 15 years.
Lisa Chapa, 20 years. Minerva Lopez, 20 years. Amy Johnson, 15 years.